All right, ready to dive in.
Always.
Today, we're tackling something that touches everyone every time you pull out your credit card.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
It's the PCI DSS. That's the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard.
Behind the scenes, protecting your sensitive info, every swipe, every tap, every time you type those card details online.
I know data security standard doesn't exactly scream excitement,
Right.
but this is about way more than just some boring rules in a textbook somewhere.
It really is. Imagine for a second, no PCI DSS. It'd be like the Wild West out there. Businesses handling your card data however they please. Disaster waiting to happen.
Okay, that got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So how did we get this standard? Who came up with it?
The big players, the credit card companies themselves. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, JCB, the whole gang. They knew they had to get serious about protecting your data.
So they got together.
Exactly. Formed the PCI Security Standards Council, the PCI SSC, and they laid down the law, so to speak.
So this wasn't some government thing.
Nope, the credit card companies took the initiative.
A smart move.
Right. Their whole business model hinges on trust. People trusting them with financial information. And trust, well, it's built on security.
Makes sense. So what are these standards really? What are businesses actually doing to comply?
The core of it. 12 key requirements, all grouped under 6 main goals. And listen, it's not just for the big guys. Any organization handling card payments, from a tiny shop to a huge online retailer, everyone needs to be compliant.
Let's break down those goals.
Great, let's get into it.
I want the nitty-gritty. How are they actually keeping our data safe?
Number 1, it might seem obvious, but it's the foundation. Build and maintain a secure network.
Okay, so firewalls, strong passwords, all that.
Part of it, yeah, but it goes deeper. Like with firewalls, you've got different types. Network firewalls, that's your barrier around the whole network. Then you got application-level firewalls, protecting specific applications like your online store, layers of defense.
So not just a firewall, but the right firewall.
Exactly. And passwords. We're not talking about your dog's name or your birthday here. PCI DSS. It demands strong passwords. Long, unique, letters, numbers, symbols, the whole 9 yards. And change them regularly.
Okay, starting to see this is serious business. Next goal.
Protect cardholder data. This is where encryption comes in. Encryption, it scrambles your data, turns it into unreadable gibberish. So even if hackers get it, they can't make sense of it.
So it's like a locked box.
Exactly. And the PCI DSS, it requires different types of encryption depending on where the data is. Data in transit, like when you're sending your card details online, needs to be encrypted with strong protocols like TLS. Then there's data at rest, stored on a company's servers, needs different methods, AEF encryption, for example.
They've thought of everything. What's next?
Goal number 3, maintain a vulnerability management program. This is about staying ahead of the bad guys. You're proactively searching for weaknesses, fixing them before they can be exploited.
Constantly on the lookout.
Yeah, it's like that cat and mouse game. You got to patch up those security holes before the hackers find them, regularly scanning your systems, keeping software up to date, having a plan to address any issues that pop up. Boom, you're on it.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but that's the price you pay for keeping data safe these days.
All right, what else is on the list?
Number 4, implement strong access control measures. Control who has access, make sure it's only those who absolutely need it.
Keep the keys to the kingdom safe.
Exactly. Limit access based on roles, strong authentication methods, and physical security too. You're protecting those areas where data is stored.
Beyond just digital security then.
All right, the physical world matters too. Okay, next up. Regularly monitor and test networks. You've got to keep an eye on your network activity, looking for anything suspicious, and test those security systems. Make sure they're actually working like they should.
Not a set it and forget it kind of thing, huh?
Nope. Think of it like your home security system. You wouldn't just install it and never check, right? Test the alarms, make sure the sensors work, even do some practice drills.
Love that analogy. So what's the final goal on our list?
Last but not least, maintain an information security policy. This is your rule book, how everyone in the organization should handle sensitive information.
Clear guidelines for everyone, from the CEO down to the newest hire.
Exactly. And it's not just about having the policy, it's about making sure everyone understands it, is trained on it, and actually follows it every day.
Because even with the best tech, things can go wrong if people aren't careful.
Absolutely. Human error, it's a real thing, often the weakest link.
So we've covered the 6 goals: secure networks, data protection, vulnerability management, access control, monitoring and testing, and information security policies. That's a lot.
It's a comprehensive approach, and when all these pieces work together, they create a powerful shield for your data.
But to really get how it all works.
Right, we need to understand where your card data actually is, where it travels within a business.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Spill the beans.
It's all about the cardholder data environment, the CDE.
The CDE.
It's not just an idea, it's the real world where your card data lives and breathes.
All right, tell me more about the CDE. What is it exactly?
Imagine a map, okay? All the places your data touches, from when you swipe your card to those servers where your online purchase info is stored. And it's not just about the computers and servers, it's the people handling that data, the networks, the whole process.
A whole ecosystem built around protecting this sensitive data.
Exactly. And to properly implement the PCI DSS, you've got to understand the CDE. Because if you don't know where your data is, how it's being handled, how can you possibly protect it?
Good point. It's like trying to secure a house without knowing where all the doors and windows are.
Precisely. Now think about it. Keeping all this secure is hard enough already. Add in our constantly changing tech landscape and, well, it's a whole new level of challenge. Mobile payments, cloud computing, they've changed the game completely.
That's true. New payment tech popping up all the time. How does the PCI DSS keep up?
That's a big challenge for the PCI SSC, how to stay relevant in this fast-paced world. They're always updating the guidelines, new tech, new threats, they're on it.
So it's not just some static rule book, it's a living document.
Exactly. Like when cloud computing took off, the PCI DSS had to adapt. The cloud brings unique security challenges when it comes to storing sensitive data. When you move your data to the cloud, you're trusting a third party. Choosing a reputable provider with strong security is absolutely crucial.
Right, you don't want to be putting all your eggs in a basket with leaky security.
Yeah.
But adding in the cloud, doesn't that make compliance even more complicated?
Absolutely. You've got what's called a shared responsibility model. The cloud provider, they handle securing the infrastructure, the servers, networks, data centers. But you, as the business owner, you're still responsible for securing your applications and the data you store there.
So you can't just pass the buck, huh?
Nope. You've got to do your part. Configuring your cloud environment securely, controlling access to your data, encrypting sensitive information, that's all still on you.
Sounds like staying compliant in the cloud era is a whole other beast.
It does add complexity. But remember, the core principles of the PCI DSS, they still apply. Understand those principles, apply them to the unique challenges of the cloud, and you're on the right track.
You mentioned earlier the PCI SSC. They're always updating the guidelines to address new threats. What are some of the big ones businesses are facing these days?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, the increasing sophistication of cyber attacks. Hackers are getting more creative, more persistent. Ransomware attacks, for example, they lock down your systems, demand payment to release them. And then you've got advanced persistent threats. Hackers sneak into your network, stay hidden for months, quietly stealing data.
Scary stuff. It sounds like you've got to be constantly on your toes to stay ahead.
It's a constant arms race, for sure. But the good news is there are tools and strategies to fight back. Automated security testing is one that's really taken off.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Tell me more about automated security testing. Why is it so important?
Imagine you're building a house, right? Instead of waiting until it's finished to check for problems, you have inspectors come in during different stages of construction. Catch those issues early, fix them before they become major headaches.
So automated security testing is like having inspectors for your software.
Precisely. They can scan your code for vulnerabilities as it's being written. No need to wait till the end of the development cycle. Catch those problems early.
So it's about shifting security left, building it in from the beginning.
You got it. And these tools, they're getting more and more sophisticated. Some can even analyze your code's logic, spot potential weaknesses that a human might miss.
Incredible. It seems like these tools could be a real game changer for businesses. Keep up with development while staying secure.
They can be. But remember, tools are only part of the solution. You still need human expertise. Someone to interpret those test results, make decisions about fixing vulnerabilities.
Not about replacing humans then, it's about giving them better tools.
Exactly. And that brings us to collaboration. You need developers and security pros working together, not in silos, communicating, being proactive throughout the whole process.
Breaking down those traditional barriers between departments.
Absolutely. And that's where something like threat modeling can be really helpful.
Threat modeling. Sounds intense.
It's not as scary as it sounds. It's more like a brainstorming session. You get a diverse group of people together, developers, security experts, even business stakeholders, and everyone puts on their hacker hat.
Thinking like the bad guys.
Exactly. You're identifying potential threats, figuring out how to mitigate them before they can be exploited. Proactive security. Don't just react to attacks, anticipate them.
Like a game of chess, trying to stay one step ahead.
Exactly. And the more you understand the threats you're facing, the better you can defend against them.
We've covered a lot. Automated security testing, collaboration, threat modeling. Any other key strategies for strengthening security?
One that often gets overlooked, incident response planning.
So not just about preventing breaches, but knowing what to do when they happen.
Exactly. Because no matter how strong your defense is, sometimes things slip through the cracks. A solid incident response plan. It's crucial.
What does a good plan look like? What are we talking about here?
It's like a fire drill. But for your data, you need to know step by step who does what, when, and how. If a breach happens, boom, you've got the plan. Identify the scope, contain the damage, notify everyone affected, get those systems back to a secure state.
Damage control, basically.
Right. And you don't want to be figuring this out in the middle of a crisis. Plan ahead, train everyone involved.
Makes sense. So we've got automated testing, collaboration, threat modeling, incident response planning. A lot to juggle. But even with all that, there's still the human factor, right?
Absolutely. Even with the best tech in the world, one careless employee can create a vulnerability. And attackers, they'll find it.
The weakest link in the chain.
Exactly. That's why ongoing security awareness training is so important. Everyone, from the top to the bottom of the organization, needs to understand security, know how to follow the rules, protect sensitive data.
And it's not just about don't do this, don't do that.
Right.
It's about understanding the why, empowering people to make smart decisions.
I completely agree. You want to create a culture of security. Everyone feels responsible for protecting data.
This has been eye-opening. I feel like I finally get the complexities of data security, all the things businesses do to protect our information.
It's been great sharing this with you, but we've been talking about what businesses are doing. What about our own responsibility? What can we do as individuals to protect ourselves in this digital world?
That's a good question. Sometimes it feels like data security is out of our hands, like it's all up to the big companies to protect us.
It's easy to feel that way, but we have more power than we realize.
Okay, so what can we do?
It starts with simple things. First and foremost, passwords. I know you've heard it a million times. But strong, unique passwords, they're your first line of defense.
Preach. No more password 123 or using your pet's name. But really, what makes a strong password these days? Give us the inside scoop.
Think long and complex. Instead of one word, use a passphrase. 4 or more random words strung together. And don't reuse the same password for different accounts. It's like having one key that opens every door in your house. Not very secure.
So a different lock for every door. Makes sense. What else can we do to lock things down?
Enable two-factor authentication. Every time it's offered, use it. I know it's an extra step, but it can make a huge difference.
I'll admit I'm guilty of skipping that step sometimes. It feels like a hassle. But is it really that important?
It really is. It's like adding another layer of security. Even if someone gets your password, they still can't get into your account without that second factor, a code sent to your phone, for example.
All right. You've convinced me. Two-factor it is. Any other tips for staying safe online?
Be careful what you click on, what you download. Phishing attacks, they're getting more sophisticated every day. Don't click links. Don't open attachments from senders you don't know.
I get those emails all the time. Look official, but something feels fishy.
Exactly. And be wary of public Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's convenient, but it's also a security risk. You don't know who else is on that network, what they're doing. Need to use public Wi-Fi. Avoid accessing sensitive info, your bank, your credit cards.
Makes sense. That free coffee shop Wi-Fi might come with a hidden price.
It might. Another thing, keep your software updated. Those updates often include security patches. They fix vulnerabilities that attackers could use to get in.
It's like a flu shot for your devices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, be mindful of what you share online. Think before you post personal info, your address, your phone number, and check those privacy settings on social media. You have more control over your data than you think.
Once it's out there, right?
Yeah, right. So those are your key takeaways. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, cautious clicking, careful Wi-Fi, regular updates, and think before you share. Your personal toolkit for navigating the digital world.
So it's not about living in fear, but about being smart, Being proactive.
Exactly. Data security, it's a journey, not a destination. As technology changes, the threats will change too. Stay informed, stay vigilant, stay safe.
This deep dive into PCI DSS has been amazing. We've covered so much. The technical details, the practical steps we can all take to protect ourselves.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, the more we all know about data security, the safer we'll all be.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we're wrapping up this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay secure.
There's one more strategy. A lot of businesses don't give it enough attention.
Oh.
Incident response planning.
So it's not enough to just try and prevent breaches. You got to have a plan for when they happen.
Exactly. Even with the best defenses, things can go wrong. You need to know what to do. A solid incident response plan is crucial.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes a good plan?
Think of it like a fire drill.
Yeah.
But for your data, you need to know, step by step, who does what, when, how. A breach happens, boom, you're ready. Identify how bad it is, contain the damage, notify everyone affected, get those systems back to a secure state.
So you're not scrambling, trying to figure things out while the house is on fire.
Exactly. You plan ahead, you train everyone, then you're prepared.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked about automated testing, collaboration, threat modeling, incident response planning. But even with all those measures in place, there's still the human element.
Absolutely. You can have the most advanced technology, but one careless employee. That's all it takes to create a vulnerability. And the attackers will find it.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly. Ongoing security awareness training, that's key. Everyone in the organization, from the top down, needs to get it. Understanding security, knowing how to follow those procedures, protecting sensitive data.
It's not just about telling people the rules, though, right?
Right.
It's about helping them understand why those rules exist.
You want them to make smart decisions on their own.
Exactly.
Create a culture of security. Everyone feels responsible for protecting data.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I've gotten a crash course in data security, all the things businesses do to protect our information.
Glad to hear it. But we've been talking about what businesses do. What about us?
What about us?
What can we do as individuals to protect our own information in this digital world?
That's a good question. Sometimes it feels like data security is totally out of our control, like it's all on the big companies.
It's easy to feel that way. We have more power than we think.
Okay, I'm listening. What can we do? Give me the action steps.
It starts with the basics. And I know you've heard it a million times, but strong, unique passwords. They're your first line of defense.
All right. No more password 1233. But seriously, what does a strong password even look like these days?
Think long, think complex. Instead of one word, try a passphrase, a string of 4 or more random words. And please don't reuse the same password for multiple accounts.
Got it. So like a different lock for every door.
Exactly. And whenever you can, enable two-factor authentication. Yeah, it's an extra step, but it can make a world of difference.
I'll be honest, sometimes I skip that part. It just feels like a hassle. But you're saying it's really worth it.
It really is. Think of it as that extra layer of protection. Someone gets your password, they still can't get in without that second factor, a code to your phone, something like that.
All right, you've convinced me. Two-factor it is. What else can I do to stay safe out there?
Be careful what you click on, what you download. Phishing attacks, they're getting trickier all the time. If you don't recognize the sender, don't click links, don't open attachments.
It's like they say, if it seems too good to be true.
It probably is. And watch out for public Wi-Fi. It's convenient, sure, but you just don't know who else is on that network. If you have to use it, avoid anything sensitive. No banking, no shopping.
Noted. So public Wi-Fi, use with caution. What else?
Keep your software updated. I know, those reminders can be annoying.
Tell me about it.
But those updates, they often have important security patches. They're fixing vulnerabilities that hackers could use. Think of it like a flea shot for your computer.
A small price to pay for peace of mind.
Exactly. And last but not least, be mindful of what you share online. Think twice before posting personal information. And check your privacy settings on social media. You have more control over your data than you might think.
It's true, once it's out there on the internet.
It can be hard to get back. So those are your key takeaways. Strong passwords, two-factor authentication, cautious clicking, careful Wi-Fi, update regularly, and think before you share. Your toolkit for a safer digital life.
So it's not about being scared of the internet, it's about being informed, being smart.
Exactly. Data security, it's a journey, not a destination. As technology changes, The threats will change too. We've got to stay informed, stay vigilant, stay safe.
This deep dive into the PCI DSS has been fantastic. We've covered so much ground.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, the more we all know about data security, the safer we all are.
Well said. And on that note, we're wrapping up this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious and stay secure.